Hello and welcome to the Tavern Chat podcast. I am your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR, your main proprietor of Tenkar's Tavern blog. And we're going to continue with part 3 of Zak Had Nothing to Do with This Bullshit, and yet had everything to do with the bullshit, according to James Raggi. So, yeah, I know. It's going to be part 3. I might break in the middle of this because it's kind of long, but we're not going to go to a part 4 because my sanity and yours just can't deal with another day of this shit. All right? So here we go. James, so then why this book is titled and positioned the way it is? In the middle of the Zak nonsense, someone publicly opined that I wasn't actually going to cut ties with Zak after I said I would. They said I was going to lie to people and continue to publish him under a different name. Just going to say flat out, Zak has name recognition, as opposed to somebody like Gareth Sharka, who doesn't really have as much name recognition except for being the failure behind Far West. But he's actually a skilled writer when he actually writes. It's why the people behind the Star Trek RPG line allowed him to use his pen name Brophy, I believe it was, instead of actually Gareth the Hut Sharka. But it doesn't work that way with Zak. Zak, you need him. His name brings in the purchasers. It brings in the audience. So, there you go. One industry figure involved in the biggest awards in the industry, I'm guessing, Ennies, like the Post. They called my attention to their conversation so I would see it. I certainly wasn't looking for it. This Zak thing was the last straw. And I look at absolutely zero RPG online material anymore. I follow no RPG related accounts. I guess the Google Plus thing means that he doesn't have social media. I don't even read Lamentation of the Flame Princess online pages anymore. I'd largely, but not completely, already stopped keeping track of the online and social media RPG scene back in the fall. I hired someone to do social media for me in September. Was that? Not going to say the name. Say it 3 times in the mirror, and they appear behind you. Suffice to say, it's the person that said that Lamentations of the Flame Princess Weird Fantasy was an OSR. That was a great person to put in charge of your social media. I hired somebody to do social media for me in September because I was pretty much done with the whole thing and how toxic it was. February was just cutting the final loose threads. 3 months after I declared I was cutting ties with Zak, I still have people contacting me to cancel their in-process future projects with me because people advised them it would be unwise for their career to work with me, and others requested their future work be published under pseudonyms. Now, listen, that's because, and don't take this the wrong way, but I think there's only one way to take it. James Raggi, Lamentations of the Flame Princess, and Zak Smith are, I don't know, attached at the hip in a lot of people's minds, and that's because that's how you pushed it. You know, Zak was always apparently appearing at Gen Con and hanging out at your booth, and you guys were a yin and yang, attached, like I said. So that's the perception that sold books for you, and now that perception was stabbing you right in the face, not in the back because you saw it coming, right in the face. That's what you get when you put all your eggs, or most of your eggs, into the basket of somebody who is, on a personal level, toxic. You know, it will backfire at some point, and in this case, it backfired here, right? What am I supposed to back to James? What am I supposed to do when that's the conversation happening? All sorts of theories have been put forth in the past 4 months, dozens, if not hundreds of people, assigning me thoughts and motivations of their own creation so they can insult and kick around, and tagging me in just to make sure I know they're kicking me. When a house is on fire, the first thing to do is to kindly tell the arsonists they need to leave. Then the fire must be extinguished and the house must be rebuilt. All right, at this point, it looks like I'm going to be reading from the Word according to James. Just looking at the first sentence too. And it will be rebuilt in accordance to my wishes, and mine alone. Anyone that thinks they have a say in this is very badly mistaken. The community, in like those like quotation marks, will have no say in the matter because the quotation marks community is poisonous. You'll take what you're given or you'll go away. Well, James, if they go away, you have no business. You have no market, right? You go out there to insult people that are your potential buyers. Now, obviously, you're really aiming at the people that were probably never going to buy from you in the first place, but had a virtue signal and say, I'm not buying Lamentations because James Raggi's an enabler. Whatever. They weren't going to buy from you in the first place. I agree on that level. But you're insulting more than them. Okay? You'll take what you're given or you'll go away? Come on, dude. Come on. In any case, back to James. Those are your choices here, and the only choices you've ever had since Lamentations of the Flame Princess was founded. This isn't arrogance. This is how this whole creative industry thing works. If you're going to be a consumer, you'll have to choose between the choices other people provide to you. Okay. If you don't like any of them, you've got to do what you want yourself. That's how we on this side of the Prince's queue all started. We had something we wanted to say. We had needs unfilled by the existing producers, and so then we felt moved to put our specific vision into the world. And if by some chance someone else there likes it, then we might just get ourselves a career. But here's the problem, James. Here's the problem. If you tell that community to go fuck themselves, you have every right to. And then they come back and they tell you to go fuck yourself, because they have every right to. That career that you're talking about, you might go back to, surfing couches. Sorry. Yeah, you've put yourself in a position where this is your income, this is your business, and you no longer have the ability, realistically, to tell people to go fuck themselves. Because that customer is always right shit, although they aren't always right. And I worked retail for 8.5 years, and I worked the booth at cons these days for Frog God Games. The customer is certainly not always fucking right. I will definitely state that. But if you tell them they're not fucking right, you tell them to go fucking pound sand and go fuck themselves and whatever, you're going to find yourself with a greatly reduced income. All right. On that note, stepping away for a second to grab something to drink. I'll be right back. And we return. More with James Raggi. Okay. Lamentations of the Flame Princess does actually stand for things. Our dedication to free and unlimited individual creation remains unsullied. Why am I thinking Game of Thrones? And we are actively against those that try to police creativity. No gatekeepers, no gatekeeping, no group pressure against individual action. The purity of the work over considerations of the audience. There's a problem with that, James. I'm just going to point it out to you. If you don't consider your audience, you won't have an audience, and if you have no audience, you won't sell shit. Just a side note from me. Back to James. We are the company that publishes Carcosa and Death Love Doom and No Salvation for Witches, and Fish Fuckers and a zombie being rather invasive to a would-be tomb robber and ripping her fetus right out of her belly, graphically depicted in our core book. That's not the only sort of thing I want Lamentations of the Flame Princess to be. I want to work with both the G.G. Allens and the Rushes of the RPG world. Yeah, okay, but Rush was a commercial success, right? Because they weren't looking to necessarily offend what their audience was looking for. Right? I think Rush was one of the best bands of their era. And they hold up to time. But they were selling to an audience. But if I can't, back to James. But if I can't, if someone forces me to choose between broad commercial appeal and, let's say, a more select audience, whoever brings the ultimatum is who I drop. Easy. You have to be willing to stand up, stand out, stand apart, and actively resist majority thinking to get along around here. With this book, I reclaim my power. I want to make like a fist motion right now. And deny the policers, the censors, the Puritans, the kindly inquisitors, all those that seek to define for other people what is, quotation marks, proper, and those who endeavor to enforce their I think he meant morality, but in any case, or their moral will upon the dreams and imaginations of others, and dictate what others may and may not create, purchase, or read. Okay. And listen, continue producing good shit, you'll definitely have an audience. But if you're not producing shit that your audience wants, then you're not going to have an audience. Oh, that's just a tough one, James. Back to James. Anyone that wishes to be a part of Lamentations of the Flame Princess can be. But you must understand that sooner or later you'll have a real problem with someone working under the Lamentations of the Flame Princess umbrella. Maybe me. And that your displeasure will mean absolutely nothing because it is only the work which is important. And many of the people settling in around here don't pay much heed to the opinions of others. Lamentations of the Flame Princess must never become a place where creators agree with each other or even want to be around one another. That's a social club, not a creative studio, and that way lies mental death. So I don't agree with that. I much rather enjoy working with people that I enjoy being around, but I'm not antisocial, so maybe that's just part of it. Okay, back to James. To those of you who require to your imagination to be just so, those of you who think it's wholesome to be weird, to those who expect creators to be upstanding and spotless members of society, to those that think the personalized or even criminal records of creators or any of your business are subject to your approval. Well, James, that's nothing to do with subject to their approval. It does mean that they can decide whether or not they want to make the purchase of those products and whether those projects are going to get their, I don't know, shared out in their social media or not. Get viral positive advertising or viral negative advertising. But all right, back to those that think judge damaged people. To those that think judge damaged people. All right, I'm pretty. Sorry, again, I hadn't read this prior. To those, I'm going to read it exactly as it is. It makes no sense to me. To those that think judge damaged people for not handling their damage in the most pristine manner possible. Man, that hurt. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. To those who think creators of fiction should share your values or your opinions on real world issues in order to have your support. To those who insist that creative output be limited to that which makes you feel comfortable and safe. Anyone that thinks the court of public opinion, read consensus, has any validity, you won't be happy here. And since you've shown you won't just live and let live, you have proven yourselves dangerous. And so I defy you and cast you out. Like I told you, man, I was right. It was getting very fucking religious. Be gone, Satan. Oh, that's right. Zak's already gone. Never mind. Sorry. I joke. He's not Satan. He's just a dick. All right. Personal opinion. Just the way you interacted with me. I don't care how you interact with anybody else. Okay. Back to James. I was never going to stop making great things. Well, actually, when you think about it, James, you stopped making great things. You haven't really. What have you yourself written? You haven't released the referee book yet, right? Because you have that writer's block for the last 5-6 years. So now you're dictating it, like, stream of consciousness to a third party who's going to take your stream of consciousness and make it into something that we all paid for already. But I digress. But I'm back now, ready to go to war to do so. Stay weird, never conform, fight on, not Zach, not in Los Angeles. Holy shit. And I really got to take a moment to compose myself because, yeah, James got all religious on us on this one in the end there. And he's casting out the non-believers, the unbelievers, the disbelievers. If you're not with me, you're against me. If you critique me, you're against me. If you don't believe in what I believe, James, you're doing the same that others have done to you. All right? You're doing the same that you claim others have done to you. You're gatekeeping in your own little way. Now, I understand it. You're upset, but you wanted to save the business. Telling people, especially the fringe people. I mean, you have a strong but small core following that will buy everything that you sell. You know, if you sold, you know, Lamentations of the Flame Princess, weird fantasy, used James Raggi, unwashed boxer shorts, or even worse, briefs, you could sell them. That little core audience is going to go, oh, but you're not going to sell it to the people, the majority, that buy your stuff based on reputation of you, and your reputation took a hit with Zach. That's what it comes down to. And this didn't help you. Now, after reading this out loud and sharing this to my audience, first, I want to say I consider this, oops, almost knocked my mic over. I consider this a community service. I'm paying for past sins having read this, but I'm saving my listeners from having to read it for themselves. Okay, my investment of like what $24 to get this book shipped to me. Yeah, I spent that much. Right. Well, it was like 18 plus shipping, and it was no longer in the $2 PDF I bought, thinking it was going to be there. But by the time I bought it, Zach had already excised this. Not Zach, definitely not Zach. James had excised this from the contents. I had to I owed it to my readers and my listeners to pick it up, and so I did. And therefore you don't have to. So if you want to know what James thinks about you, and when I say you can define yourself. Are you, part of that little clique is part of, that, or are you one of those that go, well, I might judge, or are you one of the average people who goes, I wasn't really looking to judge, but wow, he came off sounding like a pompous ass on that one. And that's my opinion. I think James comes off sounding very pompous, very full of himself, very defensive. But again, I can understand it when you take out some major loans, you try to start this company up, and this shit smacks you in the face, but it's what you get. Can't blame the community when it's you were associating your company with so Keeley, with somebody that was so toxic but had such great name recognition for you to drive your business. You reap what you sow. Again, I don't believe that's actually be blacklisted, but I don't have a problem with people having a personal opinion that I don't want to buy his shit. I generally didn't buy much Zach shit because some of it I didn't like, for one time. Some of it was very good, very in pleasant land. But for the most part, I just don't like Zach, so I'm not looking to support him. All right? But after all this shit, I wanted to support him even less. And after reading your diatribe, yeah, even less. All right, folks. Again, I took the hit for you. As always, folks. Thank you for listening. Really. My God. We're done with this now. We're done with it, except for any voicemails we get. We'll move on to other voicemails. We got other prior topics. Be safe. Be well. God bless. After this, I truly mean it. Roll those dice and roll them well. And I will talk with you all tomorrow. My God, I need a fucking drink. All right. Laters.